Good morning, Flosstube. My name is Laura, and I'd like to welcome you to Stitching by the Shore, my channel all about cross stitch with a little bit of paper crafting thrown in too. If you are new, I'd like to say welcome. Thank you so much for pressing play. I know there's so many choices out there. I hope you like what you see. Stick around, ask some questions. I'll do my best to answer them, and let's have some stitching fun. And if you're a returning stitching friend, as always, thank you so much for being here. I really do appreciate the time you take to spend with me. I love talking stitching, and I love being able to share. And hopefully you can share with me what you're working on as well too. You know I love that. I love to hear it and be enabled and just love to see what you're doing. And if you do happen to be on Facebook and you would like to join my Facebook group, it's called Stitching by the Shore. And I do talk about stitching, life, pets, sometimes other stuff. So just be aware that it's a little bit more than just stitching, but if that is something that you're interested in, feel free to hop on over. Alrighty, so I have so much stuff. We always say that's the technical term when we don't want to get into all that stuff. Actually, know where we got it. Our accountant in Connecticut, when he'd do the taxes, and he would say all the stuff that you have to give, and he would call it the technical term. And that's just taken over when Mo and I just talk about things now. So it's kind of like a little running joke. I participated in a weekend Facebook game. So that plus my other stitching, I have 14 projects. I don't know why I'm showing you 14 projects to show you. I guess 4 and 4, right? And I have a finished scrapbook page. I finished Mo's Otter fully. It's simple. I don't think you'd be surprised to see that. And then I'm going to talk a little bit about plans. So we have a lot to jump into. But before I show you my projects, I do want to give a little shout out to a brand new Flosstuber. They have one video out, and that is Jen. Harbor Stitcher is her channel, and I will link down below. She did a, your standard kind of first whip parade, which is what a lot of people do now with their first video, which is so fun because you get a chance to see the type of projects and what they stitch on and all of that. And she did a wonderful, wonderful job. I believe on Instagram, she might also be Harbor Stitcher. I think, I'm not 100% sure. And that's where I have followed her for a long time. So I was excited to see that she has a floss tube. So I will link it. Jump over there and check out all of her wonderful, wonderful stitches if you get the chance to. Alrighty, so let's talk projects. This weekend, I participated in Whip Frenzy. So I am part of a group called Whip Warriors. Now, they used to be on Facebook, No New Starts. I'm sure if you've been following Flosstube, you may have heard different Flosstubers talking about that. Usually they would start a whole slew of things with a minimum of, I don't know, it was 100 or 200 stitches in December, and then they wouldn't start anything the following year. And they would, unless there were certain things, I don't know, maybe your birthday or you'd given one, there was a few exceptions, or maybe if you finished something. So, you know me by now, I am not a no new start kind of girl. I was so excited when I saw that last year they were sort of revamping a little bit and becoming super inclusive for every type of stitching. So they have different, what they call them, tracks, and it's a closed group, but it will open at the end of the year. And they ask you by the very end of the year, before they close to new membership, you have to declare which track you're going to be in, whether it's no new starts. I think there's 23 and 23. I think there was a project X, which would be just 10 projects. There was a Sweetie, which is me, stitch what you want when you want. And there might have been 1 or 2 other. And you had to declare which track you were going on. And then there were certain things with Whip Warriors. You are expected to participate in some way or other, whether it's in games, whether it's updating folders, in your projects in your folders and they get checked, anything like that. I really enjoy it. I know it's not for everybody. They do have events that are counting and some that are non-counting. So that's really great. So if you're not a counter, you can still participate. And then they also have a longer year-long kind of road trip, I think they call it. I don't participate in that, so I really don't have any information to tell you about it. But I participate at different things over the course of the year, and my favorite, so I was super excited that they were having it this month, is Whip Frenzy. And over the course of a Friday to Sunday, you have to stitch on as many projects as you want, can, whatever, and you give them a minimum of 1 to 200 stitches. You have to take a picture before, you take a picture after, there's a code word, and then you move on to the next one. And so last time I participated, I had done 10 projects. Now this weekend ran away from me a little bit different than I thought, but I still was able to stitch. And I got to 11 projects. I wasn't particularly trying to beat my last time. I just happened to do that. And then I also stitched on a couple other things before and after the event. And I had a new start this week. Now the projects that I stitched on, some of them I tried to get closer to 200, and I think 1 or 2 I might have gone slightly over. But I did try to get back to almost every project over this week, so that if I had, especially if I'd only just done 100, that you would see some more progress than that. I think maybe 1 or 2 I might not have, but there's something there. I think those had at least 150 stitches in them, so only so much time in the day, right? Let's jump in, because 14 projects and I'm already 6 minutes in. My very first one is my 25/7 piece, and that is Butterfly. And this is from the Just Cross Stitch, I was gonna say machine, I don't even know where that came from, magazine. All of the description will be down below in the description box, so you can find out what magazine issue, my fabrics, if I make any changes, and so on and so forth. The designer on this is Anna Pavlyuk. And first time I saw this, I loved it. I just wanted to change up the fabric, because I wanted to bring those colors out even more. The beige is kind of along the yellow-orange spectrum on one side, so I wanted to make a little bit more of a contrast, and that's what I ended up with. I wish there was a name to this, because it is beautiful and I would order more. This is 18 count unnamed, and it's from Coffee Crafts Fabrics. They are UK based dyer, and you can find them on Facebook. And I totally, in my 25-ish, I'm going to say it's probably 30. I should start calling it 35/7 instead of 25/7, because it seems that that's about the time that it works its way into it at this point. So my 35/7 piece was this one right here. All of the border is completely done. The only thing in black that's left is the antennae, I guess it would be, I don't know. And then starting to fill in. Now there's a lot of colors in each section. And I was doing one of the colors yesterday for the first time. I had just filled in everywhere else. And I have to say there's a little bit of indecision, color paralysis, because I can't decide which one and where to go with it, because you're talking probably a good 10 different colors still. And there's just little bits and pieces of them everywhere. So I kind of dither a little bit, and that takes up some of my stitching time. I'm just going to have to make decisions, and that day just try to pick that color, and then whether I continue with that the next or do whatever. Now I have this slated to be my 35/7 until the end of July, and then I will switch out. I want to work on Summer Gnome for a while. Once I know I'm not going to get this finished, there's what, today is the 28th, so I have 4 days of stitching with this left. I'm not getting that done. So then this will go into a rotation. This is slated in my mind for a finish in 2023. I'm not carrying this into 2024. So it will definitely then get, you know, a 300 to 400 type of stitching week. Granted, with a 35/7, it does get more than that in the course of a week if I try to stitch 90 to 100 stitches, but it'll get there. I love this. I think it is so pretty, and it does definitely remind me of some of the butterflies that I saw when we would go yearly to Magic Wings Butterfly Museum in Deerfield, Massachusetts. A really wonderful place to go if you ever have a chance. Next, this one. Now, I actually remembered, and I'll see if I remember to mention them, but I have 1, 2, 3, 4 projects that have hashtags with them, with different stitch alongs and so on and so forth. And a lot of times I kind of forget to tell you about them. So I'm going to do my best here with it. And this is the first one, which made me think of it. This is Midnight Watch, and it is from Blackbird Designs. Mine is going to look radically, radically different than what you see here. Not only did I change the fabric, I am not stitching the border, and I am not stitching below the house. I am stitching this inner section here. I'm thinking, I'll wait till the very end, but I'm thinking I've made the executive decision to take out those stars because I don't think they're going to add much with what I have here. I can see with the border and everything, but not so much here. And I did have to change, if you see this stem here, I did have to change what the called for DMC alternative was, because this is charted in, ooh, a little bit of everything. Oh, it's crescent colors there. Is that Classic Colorworks now, I think? Gentle Arts, Weeks Dye Works, it's a little bit of everything. But they did provide DMC alternatives, and so that's what I'm using. But there is just the one change. Everything else so far, I have one other thing I may change, but I just haven't gotten to it yet. And I'll tell you when I show you the piece. So that's that. It was the cat in the moon, right? It was the cat in the moon that caught my attention. So why not highlight the cat in the moon? And this is my part. This is an 18 count Bewitched from To Die For Fabrics. Sarah from Sarah Stitches, and I have notes. I was really proud of myself last time, and I'm going to continue to do that so then I don't forget anybody I talk about. Sarah Stitches and I thought it was upside down for a minute, started stitching this at the same time, and the hashtag is BBD for Blackbird Designs, bbdmidnightwatchsal. Now, when I say stitch along, that's a very loose term. I don't really have hard, fast rules for stitching. It's all fun for me. It's a hobby. It's relaxing. And so I don't put a lot of pressure on myself or you. Whatever you can do when you can do it, that's what we go with. This is a lot lighter. Instead of 730, I used 523, which I'll list down below. And I have got all of the greenery done. I do have to go back and fill in some of the leaves, or not even the leaves, just kind of the floral parts, because I think that color is done now. I finished up this pumpkin. I have to do the 2 shades over here. I did finish the windows because they needed a little bit more work, the frames of them. Now in the pattern itself, I want to say that it's kind of like a beigey white. Think like a 3866. I doubt it that's what it is, but something along those lines in the windows. And I'm thinking of doing a very pale yellow instead. Maybe one of the paler of the colors that was in the moon, because what Blackbird Designs did, since if you didn't want to do an over dyed, they gave you a mix of 2 DMCs for the moon, which is why my moon, I don't know if you can tell there, but in person it does look, you know, slightly different shades here and there because you've got the 2 different light and dark flosses. But I'm thinking here I might use a very pale yellow so that it just looks like that the windows are lit up. You know, it's a Halloween night, maybe, I don't know, or a fall night. I guess with the cat and the moon, it kind of gives the idea of Halloween, but you know what I mean. I think that will be the other change. But see, this is where the stars would have gone, and I just don't know. I know it can balance off this, but I don't know if it has to. You'll have a pumpkin here, so you've got this one, and this. So you've got your visual triangle without doing something on each side, matchy-matchy without being matchy-matchy. So I'm thinking that's what I'm going to do. I could change my mind, but that's where we're leaning right now. I am getting there. I didn't necessarily, I have to look at my notes because I'm not sure. Maybe I did slate this one as a finish for this year. I mean, really, it should be because there's not that much left. Excuse me. But I don't know. I will check. I don't have that folder. I took my mid-year review and my Project Parade notes, those 2 from 20, so that encompasses what I finished going into 2023 or what I've had, plus everything new since 2023. And isolated finishes for different things. So we'll see what happens, but I need to check that. I think what I'll do is kind of take it out, put myself some notes somewhere, and really try to, when I'm thinking about what to stitch, maybe look at that list and see if there's something I can pull out from that. The next one is Barbaraana Designs, and it is Blue Dreams. I'm rapidly becoming a huge fan of Barbaraana. Sailing Dreams was the first one I stitched, and I loved it, so I knew I wanted to do another. And when this one just came out, not that long ago, I was hooked. Not that I don't have a million other Barbaraanas in the queue, but I had to start this one. And because, you know, it's so much more fun when others are stitching, I created a hashtag. It's hashtag, and there's two basically. Hashtag Stitch Barbaraana or hashtag Stitch Barbaraana SAL. Either one, I follow both of them. Although Instagram has messed up that whole algorithm, but we're not going to get into that. Why they mess things up, but no, I'm not getting into that. Any of Barbaraana. It does not have to be Blue Dreams. It can be anything you want, and just hashtag it so I can see your beautiful Barbaraana stitching. And we did do, the first day I started this, I think it was July 1st, I did hold a Zoom, and it was so much fun. Not everybody, but almost everybody was stitching a Barbaraana. Again, my Zooms, even if I'm doing something specific, you're always all welcome. No rules. Remember, we don't have the rules. Alrighty, I've got this little tag. I didn't cut down the fabric. I'm not sure why, because I do a lot of times, but look. Oh boy. This is 18 Count Tropical by Fabrics by Stephanie. Stephanie sure does know how to dye beautiful fabric. Look at that. She really does. Beautiful, beautiful fabric. Love her fabric. And the feel of her Aida, because that's what I stitch on. If you're new, is I'm an Aida stitcher, 18 count almost all the time, just because that's what I like. I worked on some of the face, so you can definitely see the structure of the face coming together, eyes and so on and so forth. But then I did a huge chunk. I zoomed, I think it was Monday night, and I did this entire piece. That was a lot of stitching right there. But it was nice because it was nice blocks and chunks, so I didn't have to necessarily worry about getting off course while I was chatting. Or what, looking at, what's fun about Zoom is people show stuff and, you know, you can see other people's things, but then you're looking up and down, and sometimes then I mess up my counting, but not this time. Love it. I will most likely still keep this one in my rotation, and it is a good Zoom one because this piece, and I'm trying to think if the other Sailing Dreams, I don't think it was as much this. This is definitely nice blocks of color. Sailing Dreams might have been a bit more color changes, but this one, it really makes it easy to do nice chunks at a time. So that's why I think I'm going so fast with it. And I just love the colors. I love it how all the blues are going to come out, and then we have the tropical background, summer background. This one, when I wanted, I'm not sure, well, I pulled it out for Whip Frenzy, and then I did give it a little bit more time. It's a monochromatic, which is wonderful. It's called Ye Old Crow Sampler from Heart and Hand. What's funny is I'm looking at this now, and when I put it in my stitching planner, I think I add an E to the word O. I kind of make it like an old English sort of spelling. Looking at it now, I guess I have to fix that. I am doing this in Anchor Black. And yes, this is kind of cool fabric because you can see it's definitely modeled, but I went in, again, a completely different direction. I know you're surprised, right? There we go. This fabric is an 18 count pumpkin spice from Dove Stitch. It is, as you can see, it is a printed fabric. I have another half of it because this was what I have of it. It was, I think it was a small piece to start with. I think I just got like almost like a, I don't know if they had some offcuts or whatever, and I wanted to give this one a try. I also had given away a piece, oh, probably a couple years ago now. But this was perfect for this because I knew I was going to do monochromatic, and I just thought it would be perfect for the whole kind of crow with the pumpkin sort of season. So rather than pumpkin being orange, everything else around it. Now, the one thing I think, and I don't know, I haven't looked at the instructions, but if you look at the back stitch, doesn't it look, it looks thick to me when I look at the picture. So I do think I'm going to do 2 strands on the back stitch because I think I want to make it a little bit chunkier. I think those are Smyrnas, which I may or may not do because I kind of feel like they're just there. Yeah, they are Smyrnas. I'm not going to backstitching. Oh yeah, backstitching was in 2 strands. So there you go. That's why it does look a little chunkier to me. I won't add the Smyrnas probably. And I think I'll put, because it's not an over one sort of thing because this was stitched on. That looks like linen. I can put the year. Wow. Alrighty. And then I would assume that was just initials underneath that, which I may or may not do. Yeah, it's initials. I don't know if I'll do that or if I'll just put, I could extend the leaves a little bit if I wanted to. I don't know. We'll see when I get there. But that's that one. This one is most definitely slated for a 2023 finish. That one should not. I think I started a whole bunch in October of last year. That was probably part of my pumpkin birthday stitch along. Every October I do a hashtag. I think it's pumpkin birthday SAL. And I just carry it along. So this October will be the same. Anything that is pumpkin, whether it's fabric, color, has pumpkins. It could be a pumpkin spice coffee. I know there's some pumpkin spice things out there. Anything that has to go with that. And the pumpkins can be blue, white, orange. They don't, you know, again, as inclusive as possible. And it doesn't, and this way too, it doesn't have to be Halloween because I know some of you don't care to stitch for Halloween. All right, next one. Next one did not get a ton. This was one of those that didn't get a lot of, I need to go to, where do I go? Here. Stitching time. I meant to get back to it yesterday. In fact, I had plans to it and then they kind of just went out the window. And so I did not get extra. This is Spring Quaker. You're going to see both of the seasonal Quakers from Lila Studio today. I did get this, I think it was about 150 stitches over the weekend on this one. I've learned my lesson. So what I'm doing now, anything that's an Etsy picture, I'm screenshotting it and putting it into my photos because Etsy now, when you go to something, and I don't know if it's everything or if it's things you've already bought or whatever, they provide your personal credit card information right on the page. And so that was showing a little bit last week, which is why I had a couple of those unscheduled edits that I had to do. So I apologize for the choppiness there where I had to pull some pictures out. And that's where I am. You know what? I'm just going to hold it up like this. This is such, and you know what I can do? I can fold like this because I'm not that far yet. Whoa. This is beautiful fabric. I love this. This was a fabric of the month this year from Under the Sea Fabrics. Fingers crossed, she'll put it part of her regular line. It's called Rose Hips, and this is 18 count. I radically changed this one. If you can see, I'll show again. The base is brown and different shades of brown. I decided that I really wanted to go green for spring and new birth and things like that. So I went with greens. There are different shades of green, just like there are different shades of brown in that. In person, I think it comes up a little bit better than on the screen, but they're there. And I did change the words are stitched in black and I went with brown because I love pink and brown as a combo. So that's where we are right now. I think, well, I know I did this section down here and then I might have done some over here as well. But again, 150 stitches, not a lot, right? So it could have been just this section down there. I love this one. I thought since now that I've been doing Summer Quaker, it would be fun to bring this out for Whip Frenzy. And it was, because it's really nice to do some of those colors. Those greens on that pink just bring me joy. Now a no-brainer for Whip Frenzy was this one right here because I'm in the fill-in stage. So it's perfect. All I did was take strand after strand of that one color and get my stitching in. And it is Long May She Wave by Stitching with the Housewives. Fabric color is not too different. I went with a navy rather than a black, but I am editing this quite a bit. I am not stitching the chickens. There's nothing there, and I extended the flower here. I'm taking out those. I am not doing the bunting on the truck, although it did do the flag. I will not do this extra flag. We already have this one flag that I want to focus on. I think I'm taking out this flower. I will continue here, but there, I'm going to fill in the flowers a little bit more than what they have there. And then there's a bunch of like little tufts of, I don't know if they're bees or what. I've taken all those out. I went a little bit more minimalistic on this. Now my truck is different color because the DMC alternative is definitely mintier than what's here. This is more denim. They called for rain shower, and in DMC it's 927. I don't know if Classic Colorworks rain shower is more like this. It's fine. If I had known how minty it would be, I might have picked a different DMC, but it's all right. There we go. That's what I have. Now this is an 18 count and there's no tag. I think it's navy blue is what the name, and I believe it's from Garibaldis, but I'm not 100% sure on that one. This was back when I was first buying hand-dyed fabrics, and they send their stuff in the plastic containers, but they put the label on the plastic rather than, you know, on a piece. And it's a lot more difficult to keep track because I don't keep my fabrics in the plastics. And I would imagine along the way that those got lost. I have probably 5 or so pieces of Garibaldis that I may not be able to give proper names for. But I'm thinking this one was somewhere, it was something blue, right? But I'm going to call it navy blue. I just did a lot of work on here, and then I did a little bit extra, and I filled in, I did a strand of red. So I filled in the tires are done, and then there's a little bit of red here for a flower. So we're getting there. There's so much with this, really a lot. I think next, after I finish the truck, I might try to do, there's kind of like a lattice, like a lattice crate, I'll call it, as opposed to a lattice fence, since it's on the truck. And then, you know, the flowers. But I think, I don't have this slated necessarily for a finish this year. I would be closer to saying that's a 2024 finish. It has been around for quite some time, but I think the more I edit it, the more I enjoy it, just because for me, I prefer a little bit more minimalistic. So I was finding it difficult, and for a long time I didn't stitch on it because there was just too much stuff everywhere in that picture. And by toning it down, I kind of enjoy it a lot more. So that's just me. If you love all of it, I say go for it. But I have to make it my own. Otherwise, that would have been put in the never going to finish pile. And I probably would have just ditched it. Alrighty, next. My Wizard of Oz tree. This is from Tiny Modernist. I love this one. There is a there's a couple hashtags. I don't know the second one. This was originally started because I was stitching, well, I was listening to Rainy Day Reads. I'm going to put Rainy's Day name down so I can link her Flosstube. And she was turning 40, and so she wanted to do sort of a stitch along. And she wanted to pretty much make it open-ended. So it's hashtag turned 40 new leaves sal, S-A-L. And the idea was something green, something with leaves, anything along those lines. Well, this is green and it has leaves. So I said, ooh, I've been wanting to stitch this. And I had slated it for a May. And I want to say her birthday was right around then. So it was like, it was meant to be, right? There is one that's specific to this actual piece, and I do not know it. I'm going to have to look it up. I don't know it, but I know there is one specifically for this actual project. This is so much fun. If you've been on the fence, the colors are fun. It's just whimsical. Tiny Modernist. I enjoy stitching. I love the brightness. I love just the look of it. And I love the fabric I chose. I went with an opal because I wanted things to sparkle. This is Wizard of Oz. So let's make it sparkle. And there are a few different star things throughout. I'm not going to stitch those because I have nice sparkle as it is. This is a 18 count. It's Opal Blue Ice from To Die For Fabrics. Hopefully maybe the sparkle shows up there. I enjoy getting little pieces done, and then I make myself do the leaves. The leaves are not as much fun. I'm not going to lie. And recently, okay, Mo and I are not, we text, but not, we don't know all of the lingo. So we just figured out NGL means not gonna lie in a text. We'll see if I ever use it, but I was like, oh, okay. So I make myself do a leaf when I do some other fun stuff. I did a couple of, I think these are apples, and there's another row down here of a couple apples, which they're way denser than you think they are. And I did a leaf, and I started with the lion. I didn't get a ton done with the lion, but that's okay. A little bit of his tail. Those apples, whew, again. These tiny little sections, and this, I mean, I'd say each leaf is probably a good 100 stitches, and it's, you know, 2 different colors and so on and so forth. So it takes time, but that's where I'm at, and I love it. There's some back stitching that I'll have to do at the end. I don't have any specific plan for when I stitch this one. I just stitch it when I want something cheerful and bright. You will periodically see that. I imagine that would stay. What I like about it too is because each individual section makes me feel like I get a little finish, then I enjoy that as well, which makes it nice. Next, this one I debated on showing you, but I kind of want to just close out the loop. This is my full coverage that you saw last week. I think in the end I got slightly under 1,000 stitches for this one, but I was so excited with my new start that I said that's okay. Again, I'm not going to beat myself up over 100 stitches here or there, right? This is charted by Heaven and Earth Designs. Oh, this is right. Yeah, this is not Etsy, so I don't have to worry about information. This is on Heaven Earth site. Charted by Heaven and Earth Designs. It is, artwork is by Zindy. Make sure I get this right. Zindy Nielson. And it is the mini version of it. I just love it. I think you know by now me and anything ocean. And these are just totally different colors out of any sort of, you know, but I like doing that sometimes. And this is where I'm finishing up this time around. I know it probably won't look a lot different than last time. I just was, there's 2 different, one is white and one is a beige. And so I just kept filling in with that. Just some more fill-in. My full coverages are all done in 18 count white Aida, 2 strands over 1 full cross. This one will now go away. And I did start one this week. Super excited. I know. You're like, Laura, really? Another one? And I have another planned start for August. But I don't care. I'm enjoying it. I'm having fun. So really, that's all that matters. Next, and this might be the last of the stitch-alongs. This would be number 4. This one here is Beezy Spring, and it is from Cottage Garden Samplings. So fun. I have some of this yearly set. I don't have all of them. I don't plan on stitching all of them. I loved this one though. And I have stitched the bee separately as a trading card. I did that last year. It was so much fun. That's been sent out, but I might have done that before I actually started this piece. I'm not sure. I don't remember. Here we go. This is 18 count light sea glass from To Die For Fabrics. And let me write down here. I started this one in February, and this one was started with, oh, you know what? I didn't write down another. Oh, I did write down that other hashtag. So nope, this is not the last. I have another one to show you. This was started in February. Carla from Carla Being Crafty every February does a hashtag BEE, my own Valentine, SAL, and you stitch anything with a B. And so I saved this one specifically for February to start for Carla Stitch Along. And my goal is to get it done before next February. So I'm not necessarily putting the end of this year on my plate. I'll give it a full 12 months, which means January. It might get some work. Part of what has held me up is because I started trying to stitch this. These are both the same. And it was very blah. It was very bland on here. And so I was thinking I wanted something, I don't know if sparkly, straight sparkly is the right word. I want to go and look at flosses in person and find something that's a little little bit fun. And again, it doesn't have to be heavy sparkle, but just something. So I haven't decided on that yet, because that's going to be fairly quick stitching. I mean, really, if you look at those two. So if I can get everything else done before, say, January, that could be done quickly. And this was an easy one to pick for Whip Frenzy because I just start to fill in. Ironically, I do have a mistake here. I filled in this entire one. I was supposed to put some of the other beige. I'm leaving it, and I'll just do the beige where it's called for. I don't think anybody's going to notice. But the biggest hurdle was stitching all the outline. Now that that's done, it's really easy to stitch the different sections. So I pick a color and I stitch the blocks that have that, and then I move on. This is a good one now, at this point right now, if I'm doing it talking with somebody or Zooming or whatever, because once I figure out what goes in that block, then you're just stitching and filling in. This is the one that I forgot that I was also hashtagging. How could I forget Summer Quaker? So here is Summer Quaker from Lila Studio. While I have heard, and again, I don't know, I have heard that I believe there may be plans for the other seasons, but not necessarily in the very near future. It might be something that takes a little bit of time. I mean, there's a lot of designing, and then it has to be stitched, and there's a lot there to stitch, right? So I think part of it, spring and summer came out, I think, well, see, I don't know. I remember when summer came out, and I don't know when. I just remember seeing a lot of spring, and then it felt like summer came out right away. Maybe there was a bigger gap, and I'm forgetting that, because, you know, time seems to fly, right? In my mind, they came out very quickly, so that made me think, oh, then maybe the next ones will. But in reality, it could have been much longer, different distance of time between them. So I'll just have to be patient. It's not like I don't have these two to stitch. It's not like spring and summer are finished. I'm itching for autumn, right? So now I am stitching this with Beth, the Steadfast Stitcher, her and I, along with several others. But Beth and I started to stitch along. The hashtag is Summer by the Shore, SAL. And we did do a kickoff Zoom for that, which was a lot of fun. And I love seeing all the different colors of fabrics people are choosing for this. It is so, there's so many options, which is fantastic. Now, unlike spring, I have not changed any of the flosses yet. This is all called for. The colors of, say, the fish and the crab, and is there a lobster too? They're more corally. They're not your traditional kind of like in-your-face red. So the colors are a little bit more along those pastel-y. And once I embrace that, then I'm enjoying it. That's what I have. I almost got this finished, but I didn't. I got sidetracked. I think I definitely was stitching up here and that. And then I said to myself, oh boy, if I just finished this, I could have a nice little finish. So there's a little bit of stitching here and there to go with this. This element will then be finished. And then if I look at this, I'm not sure where to go. There is a blue crab here, which I'm really looking forward to stitching. So I might go in that direction. Up here, there's a set of this corally set of colors of crabs, which is nice in a element. We will see. And then I definitely need to kind of incorporate the middle so that I'm not left with it, because there's dense stitching in the middle. The one thing I might change, if you see it in the middle, there are some clouds. My fabric was deliberately chosen for that look. And I'm thinking I'm not going to stitch the clouds. I'm going to see what it looks like when I have it. And if it looks okay, you are going to have some words right here, and you'll have a sun on one of the sides. I think that might be fine. That might be the only change that I'm going to do with that. So feel free to join us and use the hashtag SummerByTheShore, so that I can see your beautiful stitching. And I want to see your choices for fabrics and all of that good stuff. The very last piece from Whip Frenzy is Black Vintage Sampler, and it is from Owl Forest. This is another one that I have a little bit of indecision which way to go and what to stitch, because there's so many things. Now that I'm really deep into it, I can go in so many multiple directions and do whatever that I almost get, paralyzed is the wrong word, but you know what I mean. When you have too many decisions, sometimes you don't know what decision to make. Look at this fabric. Isn't that beautiful? This right here is 18 count Rainy Day from Bestitch Me. I adore it. This is the end. And I do have to, one thing I have been putting off is doing the border on this side. I stitch lefty, which means there's a lot of extra fabric. So I have to figure out how to fold it up. I do have those magnetic tie things, cord tie things. So I need to fold that up and do some here because I have been putting it off. I've been clearly working on the border on this side because it's a lot easier for me to handle the fabric. But over here, I keep putting it off. So one day when I'm just stitching by myself and I pull this out, because I do need to make sure I concentrate on the border properly, I'll get that done. I did stitch the second cat though. So we have another cat here, which, no, I had already done that one. So it's this cat. And I did some more fill-in. So we almost have the bicycle done. I believe I did some more up here of the carriage, but I'm not 100% sure on that. Again, I'm not sure this probably got 200 stitches during Whip Frenzy, and I'm not sure I came back to it. But I did make sure I got the cat done. That was my big focus. And this one is one that you will continue to see. I started this one on January 1st of this year. It was my New Year, New Start. Excuse me. This is the only time I've done a New Year, New Start. I don't necessarily feel the need to because I start all the time. And sometimes I want to, sometimes I may not, and I'll just kind of go with the whim as it is. I saved that one and saved it for a specific New Year start because I figured it was big and I enjoyed it. And once I found that rainy day, I was so excited to stitch it. So I wanted it like a special start, but we'll see. I don't know. Maybe I just keep going with it next year. But yeah, it's not getting done this year. We are 7 months done now, right? Because July is almost done, and I just don't see that one getting finished. I'd have to really just stitch on that way more than I already am. And I've got too much other stuff I'm enjoying stitching that I like to mix it around. Now, I have 3 more pieces that were not part of Whip Frenzy. And they got time. I think some of it got time, I think before I don't remember exactly how it is. This one I wanted to give a little time because this is just stitching during July, but I don't like what happened. So I'm going to have to be doing some pulling out of stitches, which really makes me sad. I love this one. As I keep stitching, I keep saying, oh, I think this one's my favorite. I think this one's my favorite. I really enjoy the colors, and this one was, the borders are a joy to stitch. They're not complicated, and so it kind of flowed. This is July's Delphinium, and this is from also Cottage Garden Samplings. Now, this was a series of 12 that was copyrighted 2013. Now, I mention that because I wonder if there have been dye lot changes. But if you see here, you see how, so all of them have, the writing is in, the letters are in 2 different colors. One is usually the dominant, and then she throws in different color in some of the other letters. Well, to me, this dominant color looks very pink, and I love it because then it kind of matches the flowers. And I'm concerned that it's the same and these flowers aren't going to look like that. What I got as the DMC alternative, I'm curious if it is. No, that's a different, those flowers are different. So I may pull those and just do the writing in that instead. I got something that was very peach looking. And in the normal scheme, I wouldn't mind that. I don't know, what did she call for the alternative? $3.52. And it's just a little bit too peachy for me. I really, really enjoy the pinks of this piece. And I was zipping along. I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of these letters. But maybe I needed that because then I was able to step back and say, oh, I really don't like that color. This is an 18 count Cendre blue, C-E-N-D-R-E. I'm not sure how to say it, and it is from To Die For Fabrics. I love the blue. I'm happy with that choice. but I do have to pull these out. I'm not sure there'll be much more progress this July on this one. Maybe I can just focus on pulling out. I don't know, but this one may get put to the side now until July of 2024. Next year, this year was my idea of starting all of these months, and then next year I'd like to see, I'm not going to pressure myself to finish them because some of them don't have a ton of progress, like this one now is going to need some work, but my idea would be to try to get a finish for them with them in 2024. That's the loose goal. All right, my new start. I had talked to you last week about Stitches So Beautiful. It is a Etsy shop that focuses on full coverage. And yes, Janet Jabber was the first one that did talk about it. I believe Janet has a piece that she'll be stitching, and she also had done a giveaway for one. And that turned me on to the shop, and I was talking last week on a Zoom with a friend, and we just went down that rabbit hole, and there was a sale, so I bought, and you saw last week. This one you didn't see because unfortunately I did have to edit this one out. Now it's screenshotted, so it's fine. This one is called Limoncello, and it is from Stitches So Beautiful is the charter, and the artwork is by Lucy McGee. Isn't it beautiful? I love the stained glass look. I love the colors. There is another one from the same artist that is, I want to say, For the Love of Lemons. And so it still has the lemon look, but there's a lot more blues, which you know me and blue. I wasn't sure between the two, but I just love all the extra colors here. In a perfect world, I'd stitch them both, right? But there's so much other stuff to stitch and full coverages that we'll see. I don't have a huge start. I actually did start this on a Zoom, I think on Tuesday night, which was a little bit daring for me because, you know, full coverage while you're talking on a Zoom. And that's my little start. I know it's not much. It's funny because up here there'll be you haven't seen it yet, but there's a whole bunch of colors because those borders, if you look, have all sorts of colors in them. And then it kind of settles into, you know, highlighting certain colors. Again, same thing with the 18 count, 2 strands over 1 full cross. This one now will be my focus this week, these 10 days. And I'm looking forward to getting some more of this one done. I didn't pull all of the DMCs with this one. There's a lot. There is a lot. And this is a big, one thing with Stitches So Beautiful, as far as I can tell, it is a lot. They're big. They're big. I don't think there's minis. And I don't know per artist. I haven't looked at each and every piece, but it just seems every one I look at is big. This one is oh, I was going to look at but I can't see the stitch count because I'm not on the Etsy page. This one is not as big as some of the other ones. Maybe 400 by 400. I don't remember exactly, but it is I'm pretty sure it might be considered a square because I think when I did the math, that's how it worked out. I could be wrong on that though. I'm not sure. What's funny is I must have been psychic. So I showed you, I bought these last week and I showed you on Friday my different ones. And then I, unfortunately, because of life, couldn't do a lot of the 24-hour cross-stitch Zooming. And Crafts and Books is a Facebook group, and they had their Zoom room open all weekend. And apparently somebody had shown one of these pieces. I don't know if they were stitching on it or not. And everybody went down the rabbit hole because, you know, that's what we do, right? We enable each other. And everybody found, a bunch of people on there found different pieces that they wanted to stitch. And so there is going to be a stitch along. Will by then already have 2 of Stitches So Beautiful started, so I'm not starting a third. I'm not sure if some people will start then, but on September 4th in the Crafts and Books Facebook page, there'll be a Zoom and everybody will be welcome, but many people will be focusing on stitching or starting one of these Stitches So Beautiful patterns. So I said, look at that. I was part of the trend without even realizing it because I had gotten these, didn't know about all of the chatting that would be about this designer and patterns, and so I'm right with it even though I didn't even realize I was doing it. Very last piece. This piece I did not work on the weekend. I would have, but I couldn't count it for Whip Frenzy. This was started because of a challenge, pop-up challenge in Whip Warriors. but you couldn't count and have it for both of the two events. So I started it before Whip Frenzy started, and then I would like to give it some work through the end of the month because the challenge only goes through July 31st. So you'll see this one again, I think, next week. There's, again, nice blocks on this one, and it's pretty easy to do. So I could see getting some more done on it. The pop-up for Whip Warriors, if you're in the group, is Christmas in July ornament pop-up. So, and basically the idea is to stitch on a Christmas piece in blocks of either 200 stitches or 2 hours, up to 1,000 for a piece. I probably will just focus on this one. I don't know how much I'll get in the course between now and the end, plus what I've already done, but this will be the only one I'll focus on for that challenge. I think with Whip Frenzy, I've probably met my requirements for participation, but you know, that's what it looks like. I am radically changing it, and I'm not doing the jade like I've done several others. I want to explore blue backgrounds. I know you're shocked. And not just the one type. So this color, I'm working on this one. I might try different blues for different ones. I really kind of liked this one for this piece because there's going to be snowflakes surrounding Santa all over the place. So it's really going to pop. I'm not stitching the dotted border, and I'm not stitching the words. I might add a few more snowflakes up there, which will basically mean Santa will be pretty much covered with snowflakes. So I think it's really going to look good on this fabric. This is an 18 count. It's unnamed. I want to say possibly Garibaldis because it's got that feel. These were Charles Craft actually before I knew the difference between Charles Craft and Zweigart. So they're thicker. I don't know if that's what Charles Craft is, if it's thicker or not. These just happen to be very hefty, which makes me think it's that. Plus their type of dyeing pattern is similar to some of the other pieces I have from them. I do have enough. I could do another Santa on here. I might even be able to do 2. And so I might, but I think if I want to do Santas on this color, I do want them to have really like a lot of white and things like that. Or maybe I'll choose some other stuff to do on this piece and do the Santas. If there's less, say, snow and different things, I might want to do a lighter blue or a different shade of blue, maybe some of that blue opal, blue ice opal, if I want a sparkly Santa. But I do want to explore that and change it up a little bit. So that's what it looks like. And I did, I think mostly, well, I dropped my white. I was stitching this, I think, in the car, and my white dropped. And then my car went, somebody else took my car. And so I was like, well, I guess I couldn't remember. I think I did the called for, but I didn't know if I changed it up. It calls for white. But I was like, did I do that or B5200? I wasn't sure. So I said, I'll just do some more of this. And that's what I did. I made a working copy because there's a lot to cross off over here. And so that's what I'm doing. You will probably most likely, unless I just don't finish the challenge, see this next week as I do some more. And that is it. That was the stitching this week. Whew. That was a lot of stitching. All right, let's talk plans. Actually, no, I have a couple full finishes to show you. One of them is the scrapbook page. I had no idea what to do with this piece. This piece was started over 20 years ago. I bet you it's 14 count. Yeah, it's 14 count Ada. And this was back probably, well, Megan will be 22. So it was probably even started more than 20 years now. I hadn't been stitching, and then I said, oh, I'll stitch stockings, and then I had stitched almost all of this, and then it just laid by the wayside. I don't know if I don't necessarily think it was because I didn't want to do the back stitching, because back then everything was back stitched, right? It just didn't get done. I chose not to do the back stitching because I kind of like the vibe of how it looks, and it's got the stocking cut, but I didn't make it into a stocking. I scrapped it instead. Now, this one gave me fits. This sat for ages and ages with a piece of 12 by 12 because given the size, and I have to tilt it because if you do it standing up tall, it's bigger than 12 by 12. So I said to myself, well, what do I want to do? And I thought about doing, and originally I had a red base to pull out the reds, and that just wasn't jiving with me. So I said, okay, let's do a navy blue base, which is what I did. And then I was going to think, oh, should I do some pattern paper? You know, snowflakes to kind of, you know, it's a snowy scene, snowman. And I thought to myself, well, or maybe I could stamp some because I haven't done any stamping recently. So that's what I did. I took a set, it was Stampin' Up set of snowflakes, and I stamped them in blue. And this is, I was going for a lighter blue than what you see here, but on this color cardstock, which I think is just from Michael's, this is a thinner cardstock, which is fine because these are going in the scrapbook. This shade, it's probably Marina Mist for my Stampin' Up friends, came up a little bit darker. And I said, well, what do I want to contrast that with? I could have done navy for the smaller ones, but I love doing red snowflakes. I don't know why. And so I stamped all of the bigger ones first. And I don't know if it's still a rule, but when you stamped backgrounds, a lot of times, again, I talked about that visual triangle. You try to make triangles with the different things that you stamp with your backgrounds. Again, I tried to make a triangle with the reds, and then some off the edges because you don't want everything just not, you know, within the borders. And I tried to fix some things. So obviously this one is a little bit stray out there. I could make a triangle with it, but it was just a way, if you've got a blank piece of paper and you're trying to stamp something, for example, it gives you a start. I do one and then I start to make the triangles, and I can try to have them so that they come out in some sort of design that's a little bit more cohesive rather than just, you know, all over the place. It's all over the place, but it makes little sense. I do the bigger ones first, then I filled in with the smaller ones. Then I had some spaces, and you'll see here, I had snowflakes, brad snowflakes. Now, I had attached everything at that point. So I actually, if you see, the brads actually had to go through both pieces. If I had thought of that before I attached the lighter blue to the darker blue, I would have done it on that, and then it would have covered and it'd be fine. These are going back to back in a scrapbook, so nobody's going to see it. It was just one extra layer out, and these are so thin it doesn't matter. I ended up going with, I did have white, but given how the background was looking, I just didn't like them on there, and I thought I had these kind of baby blue, or not even, a little bit darker than that. They're actually quite similar to what Marina Mist would look like on a white. So I use those instead. So they're pretty subtle, but again, we have our triangle, and we filled in some open spaces there. It just looked a little awkward. And I definitely cut this one tight. I needed to, otherwise it wouldn't have fit. And that's what it looks like. It was one of those that I just was not sure what to do with. So we went with what just worked out best. I'm looking at it here. I could put a brad here if I wanted to, actually. That's a little bit plain, but I might not. I don't know. We'll see. If it bothers me enough, I will. Otherwise, I won't. And then you saw the stitched finish last week. For Mo's birthday, I just did a very quick flat, I call it a leaner. So I covered the stitched with the comic book board. You can use it, comic book board. I did get a question about that at one point, is acid-free board that comic book collectors use. I guess you probably put your book through it and then you put it in a sleeve, and it keeps it rigid. You know what I mean? So that your comic books don't get crinkled or creased or whatever. And it obviously is acid-free because they don't want it to interact with the books. So I said, oh, that's great for anything small, because you can get a package of 100, and I use them to wrap my fabrics. So now I use them to wrap fabrics as well as mat boards. But you could use mat board, you could use sticky board, which I still have some, but I don't ever use it because I use these now. I do have some bigger ones though, if I wanted to stick a bigger piece. And those I think are 7 by 9. They're whatever the size of the comic books would be. So I used that, and then I went through with my fabrics. I wasn't sure. I thought I would do felt potentially, and a shaped felt or something, but nothing was really jazzing me. I did have this fabric. I don't have a lot because I'm not a quilter or sewer or anything, but I did have this, and I said, oh, well, that's good. That's kind of like a watery color, and it pulls in some of the colors that were stitched on this. And I just made it a leaner. So I put some felt on the back, and he puts it against, he has a mug, so I think he's leaning it up against where the mug is too. He has an otter mug. So that's a very simple finish, but he wouldn't like anything that was too frilly or froofy anyway. This is what he would want. And that's pretty much my style anyway. All right, so that was that. And the one thing I have noticed, and I'm probably late to the party, everybody probably already does this, when you, and I used to do the same thing. When I would layer, I don't like, so you can see, if you were to look close, yes, you can see kind of the two layers, right? And a lot of people will put, say, a lady dot rickrack or a, what are the puffy balls? You know that I'm talking about. You're all yelling at me, whatever they are, you know, trim, just basic trims around the edges so you don't see that. Well, I used to do the same thing layering with cards, and you use mounting tape, right? But then the center, because you have the sides mounted, which is where you'd put the tape, the center would buckle in. So I started, when I made cards, I would put some mounting tape on the inside too, so it wouldn't buckle. Well, with the Ada especially, obviously the edges, the corners are thicker. So when I would put something on one layer to another, it would buckle. What I just started to do, and I cut it to just what the inside would be where my corners are. After I folded it over, I cut some batting and I glue the batting to the back. And so now there's no buckling, and it pretty much, you know, if I press down here, it would go down, but from the center, there's nothing buckled. So it just makes it a little bit sturdier and straighter, for want of a better word. Those are my full finishes, just those two. Plans, right? Yep, plans are coming up next. Let me put these over here. Now, I did start this last night, but I didn't bother showing you because I had enough projects to show you. But this was my plan to start this month, so you will see that next week. It is called Good Tidings from Jeanette Douglas Designs. So that will be a piece you'll see next week. The other one that I had slated for July is Book House from Stone Street Stitchworks. I am hoping to get a start on this. I don't know if I showed you, because I know I've showed these in Zooms. I was thinking of changing this totally up. So the colors are very primish and they look beautiful, but I was thinking, how could I jazz that up a little bit? And I was thinking those are kind of autumny, so I thought maybe I would pick something that was sort of autumny without being completely autumn. And I have two different, one is from Be Stitch Me and one is from To Die For fabrics. I have two different, I'm leaning a bit more to this one because it's a little less bright than this one. But I want to do a floss toss, and if the colors look good on this, I will do it on one of these instead and kind of have it more of like a fallish vibe to kind of go with the colors, because those colors, like I said, are very primish. I will be starting, obviously, my Cottage Garden Journal. So this is August's Poppy. I don't have fabric picked for any of these, though, yet. Well, there's one that is a start, potentially, that I was supposed to start last year. Erin Elizabeth Nautical Tier. I have to start some of these nautical tiers. I have 3. So they've got to get started. And this one was slated in after I saw it, which came out this year, right? Because it's just too cute. This is the one I had last year, and I had started it, and I totally messed it up. And it is Sign Series Summer from Twin Peak Primitives. And I had started it on, and I'll do it again, on Caramel Macchiato, because I figured, okay, oh, that's kind of cool. Let's do a sand vibe with this one. Well, I started at the edge up here without taking into account that that edge is way less longer than this edge. Luckily, I realized it when I was almost done with the lighthouse. So I made that lighthouse into a trading card. It's long since been traded, and all is good. Now my lesson is learned, and I will make sure I'm okay. And I have used, I think I used these too. I stitched these little houses as a trading card one time too. I think there is a little mistake there. And I would like to figure out in this middle row to stitch the word Delaware, since that's where I live. That is 2 of my 3 tiers that are kind of summery, nautically. I have them in, is it Chantilly? Madame Chantilly? Is that what it is? I also have that one. But there's only so many tiers I'm going to start at once. And then the last one here, this is one of my favorites from the Time for All Season series, Cottage Garden. That will most likely have a blue background. I think Stephanie's, there's a lot of white. I'll have to see if Stephanie's Nantucket Sky will work or if I have to change it a little bit. But I think that'd be beautiful. Those are the slated ones that I had set when I had set, well, Erin Elizabeth slid in this year. The rest of them had been part of what I was planning on starting as we started or finished last year, started this year. Well, remember Stitch is So Beautiful? How I planned on stitching, I bought 4. And Amy and I were talking on a Zoom. That's how we decided that stuff. And we both really like this one. This is by Patrick. I think it's Gauthier. I don't know for sure because I don't have it. I'm not on the Etsy. This is a screenshot. When I get to it, I'll tell you. And we're starting this in August. When, I don't know. But I've bought extra, white 18 count. In the off chance that I wanted to start full coverages on a whim, I would get the big pieces, the yard pieces from Amazon, and so I'm good to go. I have options. So that one will that's why I was able to start limoncello right away, and this one. Excuse me, as I spill some of my tea on me. This one will be a start in August. So that's also an unscheduled start. And I will choose between one of those to stitch. Hopefully, I have no idea what I'm doing Labor Day. But if I'm around and can jump on the Zoom for the stitch along, that's what I'll do. Those are my plans. So you see the August starts. Several of them, I have to figure out fabrics. And we'll see how it goes. And hopefully that book house, I would like to stitch. It's been kind of in the background for me for a while now. And, it's not going to get done just sitting on there. So that's that. Alrighty. So shopping, I have 3 different fabric people to throw you. Just one of each pieces of fabric. And I'm reevaluating one fabric of the month. And I feel bad doing it. But, I want to be, always give my own, critique's the wrong word, my experiences. So let's start with that. Last year I did Fortnite fabrics. I chose this year not to do it, which in the end, there's been issues. Obviously, life got in the way, and so I don't think they're doing them anyway. But in the process, I said, I love the look of Grace Notes fabrics, and so I changed to that one. I switched out of one, and I went to another. And I've been in Bestitch Me for years. I love Bestitch Me fabric, so that will stay. And this year, I think it was this year, or maybe last year I started with Under the Sea, and I'm still intrigued enough that I would continue. She's shown what the August is going to be. And that one is closed, I think. You just have to join her Facebook page because she'll tell you if it opens up. For a while, I couldn't get in because it was closed, and then it opened up. Grace Notes, they are one of the most fabulous set of people, and their fabric is lovely. And there was an issue with they can't get 18 count for next month, and they were open and honest and upfront and informative, and I can't tell you how good their customer service is. And that's what makes me feel so not uncomfortable, but just bad. I feel guilty. I feel bad about thinking about dropping this, but I think I'm going to. I'm not going to, if you don't want to see, please turn away. I am in the colors fabric of the month, and this month that I just received, and again, it's beautiful. I'm not going to say the name. I will show you the name because that'll give away. Look away if you don't want to see. I'm in the 18 count Ada. So that's the name. I don't know if their fabric of the months are in their regular line. I'm not sure. And look at that. Beautiful, beautiful. And look at 2 very different, which is great because if I had different vibes, I could use the 2 different sides. Don't look back yet. I want to show you in the course of my time as the part of the fabric of the month, 3 pieces that I have received in the fabric of the month. And this is why I'm feeling like I need a little bit of a change. Don't look if you don't want to see. Very similar. These 2 obviously are much more similar to each other, even though they're 2 different names. I've received all of these in the course of my short time in fabric of the month. All on their own. I'm going to put it down. They're beautiful. But I'm just concerned I'm going to keep getting more of this shade, and I just really don't need it. The variety is just not quite what I was hoping for. Nothing against them or their fabric. I think it's just time for me to do a little bit of a change. So that will probably be the last one you see. And they send the cutest little, look at the cutest little sticker. I mean, I'm an 80s child, so this fits right into me. I feel bad. But you know, I have to do what's comfortable for me. I'm debating on doing both colors and neutrals from Brandy from Bestitch Me. Because I love being in her colors, but her neutrals are so pretty too when I see people talking about them. So we'll see. I'm trying to think if I want to talk about these two fabric dyes. They're brand new to me, but I'm wondering if I wait until next. I think I'm going to wait till next video because I really want to give them their due, and I hate to short shrift them because we've already got a long video. So I will do those. I'll make myself a note. Shopping fabrics next week. I want to make sure I give them a chance, and I know I'm not going to stitch as much this week. There's just no way. Whip Frenzy weeks are my most stitch heavy weeks. All right, let's do giveaways. So I did have 2 other pieces of fabric. You'll see them next week. I know I have a couple other, it's just fabric, it seems lately. But that's okay because then it just gives me all these choices for all these starts. So I like it. And it's fun to see the different hand dyers and to support different people with their small business ventures. So you will see probably quite a bit of fabric next week and a variety of hand dyers, which will be a lot of fun. Alrighty, so this week's giveaway was the Summer House Trio from Waxy Moon Designs. I asked you to say the word house. Whew, we gotta start. It's definitely, even though the air is up here, we have the mini split up here, it is so hot that if I was to go outside, this would feel beautiful, but sitting here now for an hour, I'm starting to feel it. It's definitely cooler downstairs because it's a bigger system downstairs. Plus, I'm tucked around the corner, so sometimes the air kind of whooshes towards me and other times it doesn't. Alrighty, so I've mixed these up around enough. I've chatted enough, and I separate. Who is this? All right, who do we have here? Oh, this is funny. I had 2 Kims. This is Kim L.A. I had a different Kim that also had, I wrote the name down for, but this is Kim L.A. Congratulations. Please give me your address, and I will send that off to you. And then, you know what? Let's put this right back in the thing. I do like to do that so that I don't lose who the winner was. So put that there. This week, it's a small little pattern. It's a tiny little pattern. I've already stitched this. And it is Surfside Cottage from Country Cut and Needleworks. Now, when I stitched it as a tiny. I didn't do the flower borders on either top or bottom. I just did the inner part, which is super cute. That would be a cute little pillow, cute little hanging ornament if you wanted summer stuff. I thought, okay, maybe I'd stitch these as like a border, but I just don't see myself doing it. So I want to pass it along to somebody who might stitch parts of it, all of it, multiple times, whatever you want to do. So if you could say the word surf, S-U-R-F, I will put that in your name into the blue bowl for next week, and we will choose a winner. So that's the giveaway stuff. Okay, that's it stitching. Oh, right before I forget, I am hoping, this week I've been kind of ironing out in my brain different things and ideas. I'm hoping next week sometime to do a video about the trading card swap. And I'll talk about the trading cards. So if you're unsure what they are, I'm going to talk about some swap details and so on and so forth. The long and the short, to give you the very brief note, is I would ask you to send it by October 1st. So this way you've got, if I can get something in next week, you'd have like a couple months to work on something. And I am going to go themed, and I am 99% sure it's going to be an autumn theme. But I'll talk about more of that in the video. If you are curious about cross-stitch trading cards in general, I do have 2, I think there's 2. I don't think there's 3. I think I have 2. They're called Finish With Me, and they're focused on trading cards. They're extra videos. And then I did do a Flossmas trading card video. So I think there's 3 total. I don't even know how to do my fingers anymore. 3 total for you to look at. But this one will address not only the basics with the trading cards, but also the swap idea and basics as well. So be on the lookout for that. I ran out of room with my notes because I had so much stuff to talk about that the very bottom is all like scrunched in. So that's why I'm forgetting things. Now we are done with the stitching. If you are here for just the stitching, thank you so much for staying and being here all this time. I really do appreciate it, and I hope you have a wonderful week, and I'll see you next week. Life stuff, I'll be brief because I could go. This weekend didn't quite go as planned. So it started off great. Friday, I was able to jump on a little bit of a Zoom for 24 hours of cross stitch. I didn't get much stitching on Friday, but I had plans on Saturday and Sunday because, you know, the kids were doing different things. And so I knew I'd have some stitching time. Friday night, we all went out for dinner. Took Mo out to dinner for his birthday because Friday was his dinner. Walked down toward the beach because it's right on the beach area. And hung out there for a little bit. It was still pretty busy given the fact that, you know, this was after dinner time for us. I mean, we are earlier eaters. We're not like 8 o'clock eaters or something. But that was really nice. Had a great time. And then Saturday, it was great. So Meg and Liz were going to the beach because it was a beautiful, beautiful day. And, you know, they wanted a little bit of, you know, hang at the beach all day kind of thing, which go for it. That's not my thing, but you go for it. Connor was working. Mo was going to do pickleball. I knew, okay, I'm all set through the morning because Mo was like, I don't know when I'm coming back. I said, that's fine. Stay as long as you want because I'm stitching and I'm zooming. And I settled in. I was stitching. I was zooming. And then next thing you know, I get a text from Meg. Now, when your kids have plans and you get texts, that's not always a great thing, right? So Meg texts me and she says, Liz sprained her ankle. I said, oh no. And so Meg was going to wrap everything up. They were going to go to the walk-in clinic, have her checked out, so on and so forth. In the meantime, when I text Mo to let him know, and this is after 11, so he'd been at pickleball for a while. He texts me back and he says, no problem, I'm heading home. I tweaked my hamstring. It's like, you've got to be kidding me. Within the course of an hour, 2 injuries, right? So he comes home. He's like, it's not major. Like, he wouldn't go. He's like, I'm not going to call the doctor. I'm going to wait. And so far, he's very bruised. For any of my nurse friends, he's not gimpy. He was sore the first day and into the second, and he was a little bit limpy. I made him take things very easily. He's like, should I start stretching? I said, no. Let's take it a little easier. We'll do some of the, you know, kind of pulled muscle things or whatever. Let's ice it. Let's do some ibuprofen, that kind of stuff. And then, and he started to feel better, but then he started to the back of his leg is all bruised. He feels fine and he can move fine. So I said, well, if this doesn't go away, you're going to have to go to the doctor because he's resisting me. So I said, all right, we'll start with some gentle, like stage 1 hamstring pull stuff. And I've been now I'm going to work him to stage 2. And I've told him he's taking pickleball off for a while because I don't want you making it worse. So he's okay. So Meg, then I met Meg and Liz at the clinic because we had crutches. So I said, because, you know, from Mo's Achilles last year. So let me bring the crutches over so that she's able to actually walk on something. So they stayed at the clinic. We went home. Well, last week, the water was extremely, extremely aggressive, I guess is the want of a better word. And apparently the clinic said they had several people coming in getting hurt from the waves. Liz was in the water, heavy, heavy wave. I don't know if it's when she landed, I don't know exactly how it happened. Well, she actually broke her ankle. She fractured her fibula right by the ankle. That was all from wave. It's just amazing how destructive water is. So that obviously put a crimp in their plans for doing anything else. We actually had the scooter. You know, Mo was on that little leg scootery thing. And since it's her ankle, we said, here, you take this back to Philadelphia with you so you can get around the city because crutches is a little bit difficult, right? And it's a little easier with the scooter. I mean, sometimes the crutches are better. We sent her with both. Here's the crutches, here's the scooter. Do what you got to do to get around the city. And luckily, you know, she's been seen by an orthopedist and she doesn't need surgery. We're all super excited about that for her because that would just be a lot more. But it's a walking boot and, you know, all of that goes with it. So always, moral of the story, be very, very careful in the ocean. If things look a little rough, just be very, very careful. Meg said she got tossed around. She's like, I think I hit my head, but I'm okay. I'm like, oh, please no more. No more, no more. So, I did not go, I couldn't sleep Saturday night, probably because I was all this stuff running through my head. We were going to take the girls up to the train station, because the train doesn't work all its way down to Rehoboth. Mo ended up just driving them right into Philly because there was no way she was going to navigate the trains with either crutches, or she wouldn't have been able to take the scooter and everything else. So Mo said it was a very easy drive. It was Sunday morning driving into Philly. He drove them in, helped them and everything else, and then drove home. And I was a little out of it. I was able to stitch, we just kind of all of us binged TV shows. I think Mo and I, we rewatched Night Agent, most of it. The girls had not seen it before. So we just binged on that, and I stitched. And then Sunday, I kind of chilled and stitched while he was driving. And so, because I think Connor had to work again. So the house was quiet. But I just was not in a frame of mind to Zoom or anything. So I missed the Zooming, but that's all right. There's always options for that. And we're just hoping for quick healing of everybody at this point. So a little bit different than I anticipated, but when you try to anticipate everything, life usually throws you some sort of curve, doesn't it? All I can say is thank goodness there's no surgery. People aren't in massive, massive distress, and that's all we can hope for, right? I mean, things are going to happen. No, he has not decided to give up pickleball yet. He still wants to get back to it. I said, alrighty. And I think part of it was because he was playing really well. He had been practicing his serve, and he was feeling good, and he was holding his own with intermediate players. And he's, fairly beginner because he just started it before he hurt himself last year. So he was feeling great. So now he wants to get back to that feeling again. I just have to hold him back for a while because hamstrings are, hamstrings can be dicey, and I don't want him to re-injure himself. So other than that, we're just staying in. It's hot. Just like many other places. I think the heat index is supposed to get up to somewhere between 105 and 110 today. We're just hanging out in the house with the air conditioning. I mean, I might have to run a few errands, but maybe tomorrow morning. I think it's going to be hot again tomorrow, and then some rain is coming through, which will break it. And next week, I don't know what the humidity is supposed to be like, but I think the temperatures, because right now we're in the 90s with the temps, and then that soars it with the heat index. Next week, I want to say the temps are back in the 80s. Still might be humid, but might be a little bit better than what it's going to be for the next few days. If you are somewhere super, super hot, please, please, please take care of yourself. I have my tea. I have some water. My tea is now cool, so now it's more iced. It's a white ginger tea, I think, today. I think is what I went. I'd forgotten I'd had this one, and I just discovered it the other day. I said, oh, I remember liking that. One thing, and I would always check, this white tea, you actually only steep for 60 seconds, and they put that in bold. And they mean it, because if you steep this one for any longer, it is bitter. So always look at the instructions. I don't follow a lot of the other ones necessarily. Sometimes I just leave the tea bag in there while I'm drinking it. The ones that are fruitier and so on and so forth. But anything that goes bitter, take a look and see, because sometimes you do have to. So I put a timer on for 60 seconds because I'd forget otherwise. And then drink it, and I like it like that. Still has a little bit of an edge to it, but nowhere near if I kept it in. So that's just a tea kind of FYI. Other than that, I don't have to do anything super exciting, so I'm gonna wrap it there because you've got other Flosstubers to watch and other things to do. So thank you so much for being here. Thank you for sharing the stitching and listening to my challenged weekend issues. But the way I look at it now, every day is just one day for them to be healthier and back to feeling better, and that's how we just we tackle it from there. And so and then I will see what I can add for Mo so that he feels like he's progressing, so that he doesn't give me grief about not going back to pickleball. That's it. Drink your liquids, and if you're in the other side of the world, please stay warm, because I know it's cold, cold, cold over there. But get those fluids in if you're in somewhere very warm, and just take care of yourself. Try not to go out if you can when it's that blistering middle of the day kind of stuff. I'm sure the beach is packed today and will be all day long. So I'm hoping everybody takes care of themselves over there. I myself will be staying in with the cool. All right, that's it. Hope you got lots of stitching in. I hope you have a fantastic week. Whatever it is, make sure you take time for yourself because you matter and you are important. So always take that time for you. And until next time, happy stitching.